Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Greeting to everyone. I hope that everyone is learning the ratio analysis under the umbrella of financial statement analysis. Dear students, so far we have learned how to prepare a panel sheet for a particular sector. For example, if we are assigned a sector, fuel and energy, and these are the companies, and this is the respective time period for which we have to enter the data. And these are the items, or you can say variables, for which we have entered these data, right? After which we have calculated the ratios, right? Current ratio, quick ratio, and inventory turnover ratio, and other asset management ratios, debt ratios, right? So in the same pattern, like current ratio, quick ratio, you will calculate other types of ratios. And after calculating the ratios, we have learned that current ratio, this ratio is for the first company for the first time period. Like our first time period is the 2016 for Alton Energy Limited, and then 2017, 18, 19, and so far. So this current ratio, which we have calculated so far, is for the time period of 2016, right? Current ratio is equal to current assets divided by current liability. And then in the same way, we have calculated quick ratio, right? These two ratios represent the liquidity performance of the. In the next step, we had calculated the average of these ratios. If you go to the end of the table, for the quick ratio, current ratio, we have calculated average value and standard deviation, right? And now we are going to summarize each ratio and generating a table, right? If you go to the next sheet, you have to prepare a table like this, which you have learned from your book chapter. Our assigned sector is fuel and energy, and we are going to do ratio analysis. And first type of ratio is the current ratio, liquidity ratio. And under liquidity, we have two ratios, current ratio and quick ratio. And then activity ratio, and under the activity ratio, we have some other inventory ratios and average collection periods and other ratios. So we have generated a table like this for all the ratios. Now, dear students, you have to put all the average and the standard deviation values of each respective ratio over here, right? You can copy paste in a manual form, or you can create a link. Like you have learned how to use the Excel, you can create a link over here, for example, equal, and then current ratio, average value of current ratio, and here you have the current ratio 3.214. Then its standard deviation equal sign, and then go to the standard deviation, and we have standard deviation over here. So then go to the quick ratio and copy the value or create a link. Here we have quick average value of the quick ratio and standard deviation of the quick ratio, right? So far we have the values of current ratio and quick ratio, right? Current ratio and quick ratio. In this way, you will complete all this table. You will have to insert the value of each calculated ratio, average value, right? After the completion of this table, you will copy this table and then paste in the MS Word. I'm going to open the MS Word. And this is the MS Word. Like here, I'm going to copy paste. So see, this is the table for which we have applied ratio analysis, right? And then you will interpret the respective ratios. So I would suggest rather before discussing the ratio analysis, you have to introduce your particular sector. Give a brief introduction of your sector, like fuel and energy sector, energy sector. So first of all, give a brief introduction of your fuel and energy sector, about 500 to 1000 words, 1 to 2 pages. And after that, do the ratio analysis. Give the heading of ratio analysis. And then you will write over here that following is the ratio analysis of fuel and energy sector of Pakistan for the time period of 2016 to 2021, right? Colon, and then insert the table. Here your table of the ratio analysis, right? And then you will comment on each ratio. For example, our first ratio is the current ratio, and average value of current ratio is 3.214. After the table, we can interpret the ratios. We can explain the ratios. For example, here you can give the heading of explanation of the ratio. Our first type of the ratio is liquidity management. And under liquidity management, we have current ratio. And now interpret the current ratio, like sorry, average value of the current ratio of the sector is 3 point, let me see it again, 3.214 for the period of 2016 to 21. The ratio is ratio is showing that current assets are greater than the current liabilities by 3.214 times. The current assets are 3.214 times greater than the current liabilities. Therefore, companies in the sector have ability to ability to pay their current obligation, current liabilities, right? So in this way, you will interpret each ratio, and then uh, quick ratio. In the same way, you will interpret the quick ratio, right? And then the part of the liquidity management is complete. As you know that the liquidity uh, management, liquidity performance of the company shows whether the company have ability, whether the company have acquired current resources to pay our current liabilities or not. So these two ratios will shows whether the company have ability to pay the current liabilities or not, right? So in this way, you will uh, discuss each ratio. There is no need to go into much detail. Just pick the ratio and interpret it in one or two words. If you feel any difficulty while it, you can contact me individually. Thank you so much and good luck.